Hey everyone, it's me, Eric Kimball, here with another video. This is a advice video first and then a tip trick video. I'm going to show you something that I would have to think I've never seen before because I've never seen anyone do it. I'm the only person I know who does it, and you'll want to do it if you put Cove or crown molding up at the ceiling to wall juncture, which I've done in this room. Yesterday I put my final coat of paint on it and I'm so pleased with it, and I'm going to show it to you. But I want to talk about why, first of all, you would want to put Cove molding, and this here is the Cove molding that I used around my ceiling right there. Okay, this is 2 3/4. Cove molding is measured from the longest point here to here. That's how you measure it. And yeah, what was this? This is 2 5/8. 2 5/8. So that's how it's measured. I have this smaller Cove molding elsewhere in my house because the ceilings are lower. And this is 1 3/4 inch Cove molding. So now you know how it's measured. And I want to tell you why you should put some sort of molding, either this Cove molding or the more elaborate crown molding at the ceiling wall juncture. The reason that you want to put that molding up there is because it is pleasing to the eye. The finished job done properly, and I'm going to show you how to do it properly, is so pleasing to the eye. It's an aesthetic thing. And I dare say most houses in this country, among the middle class people, do not have that kind of a molding, a Cove or a crown. Cove is less expensive. It's more affordable, let's put it that way. The reason that it's not in most houses in the middle class range, which is most of the houses that I worked on when I was in the trades, is because of the price. Not just the price of the material, but the cost of labor, okay? But it makes such a difference in the finished look of the room that you should do it. Now, in this room here, I bought this Cove molding at the local lumber yard. I bought 78 feet. It was 6 13-foot pieces. Yeah, 13 foot, an odd size, but that was the length. It was $1.40 a foot. The total was $109.33 plus New York tax, it's 8%, to buy the molding to do just this room. So for about $100, I have something that is beautiful to me. It's just beautiful. Let me show you what I mean. Hopefully I can capture the beauty of this simple molding. I'm having a really hard time getting my camera to focus on just this molding with everything white like this. But there's an inside corner, and I'll go down the wall. It's probably going to go out of focus, but keep in mind that the ceiling and the molding will stay white and the walls will be kind of a creamy color. So the molding will really pop a lot more when that's the case. See, we're blurring here. Let me walk down. Hopefully you're getting the idea. I got a little bit of jiggle as I walk. I don't have one of those things that keeps everything smooth. But okay, so yeah, and we got one outside corner here. Okay, get the focus going there. Let me show you the other molding I have in my house. Now, here in the rest of my house, I have lower ceilings, so I use the smaller Cove. And you can see how I jogged it right around the door trim here. And it just finishes off and gives the room a quality look. Here you can see some dental molding I made years ago, but around the drywall, I have the smaller Cove molding. All right, and it just finishes off that juncture where wall and ceiling come together. All right, so I have this little mock-up here to demonstrate the tip that I'm going to show you. This is the ceiling, this is the wall, Here we have the molding. And one thing you need to know, if you don't already, about Cove molding is that one of the sides, one side, I guess it's a side, here is wider at this point than this. You always want to put the wider end up. You don't want to, you know, flip it over so you got the wide end meeting a narrow end. That's going to be pretty obvious. But the wide end goes up, okay? Be aware of that. And when you join these pieces in the corners, you want to cope them and you cut miters for outside corners. I'm not going to discuss that because there's so many videos that show how to do that. So, and that's what I did. I coped my corners in, and just like the videos show. What I want to show you in this video is something I had to do in 3 spots in this room. And that was I had to butt the 2 pieces together, and I had to make an invisible seam. I'll call it invisible because it is. I would defy you, if you were here in this room now, to find the 3 places where I joined in like a butt joint for this. Now some people, some carpenters, they'll cut a scarf joint and they'll glue it and all that. I used to do that in the early years, and I don't think it's worth the time and the trouble. A simple butt joint will serve the purpose. Put a little glue on there. I don't know how much that really does in the long run, but you could put a little glue on there. But the thing that happens here, and the problem I'm going to solve for you, is that when you join these and you butt them up like this, rarely do they end up being perfectly flush. Either you've got a little bit there sticking up there, or down here, or the curve isn't matching, and that's because of the way it got nailed in, or because these were maybe 2 different millings and the cutters were off just a little bit. It's actually very typical when you butt 2 pieces together and join them in a butt joint of molding like this, that they're not going to be perfect. That's not perfect there, it's not perfect there. I'm going to show you how to make it perfect. A whole lot easier than trying to sand it, just sand it or use your block plane or anything like that. I'm going to show you the trick. Okay, but let's nail this down first. So what I have here is my old Senko trim nailer. I've showed that in a previous video. I've got 2-inch nails in it, and typically I'll try to fasten this everywhere that there's a stud in the wall. And yeah, we'll just nail that right there. There may not be a stud where your joint is. That's okay. It can still work. And up near the ceiling, I typically go one way and then I'll turn, go the other way. Yeah, so I'm angling this way with a nail, and then about 3/4 to an inch away, I'm angling that way. That seems to work pretty well. All right. Because you may not have anything solid, but you're connecting. You're connecting your molding. Now here, I'm going to make sure that it's off. Yeah, it's off there, it's off there, it's off there. It's off all over the place, but it's not a problem. We'll just, we'll nail that in. Get our nail up here. And oh shoot, another one in here. Yeah, these nail holes, they're no problem. I'm going to tell you how to take care of those real easy. Okay, there we go. I want to just make it clear to you that these do not meet up, and this is proud of this. I've got a lip there, and the same there, and the same there. Okay, and I'm going to fix that, but I should say that you could, and I've done it many times, you could take your block plane before you nail this in here and here, and you could shave that down a little, or after it's nailed in, you can take a sharp chisel and you could pare that away. But you don't have to, if it's a little bit like we have here. That would show, that would be so obvious if you didn't do something to it once it was up. It would be such a sloppy job, but it's not going to be, because I'm going to fix it right now. No, I'm not going to use caulk. That would be a tragedy. That would not do a good job. I'm going to use right here. This is hot mud. This is specifically Easy Sand 45. Mixed up a little bit. And it is essentially plaster. And that's what, in the old days, plasterers used to make these moldings at the ceiling to wall juncture. They used to make these out of plaster. So it turns out you're not going to find a better way to fix these problems than to use a little plaster. And we'll come right down here, go like that, okay? I'm basically spackling it. Now, does anyone use that word, spackle? So yeah, so I'm just getting this on there, I'm filling, okay? And it's okay if you overfill. It's not gonna be a crisis. I could be neater. And this material, this easy sand, hot mud, setting type giant compound also is excellent as a hole filler, nail hole filler. And fact is, I don't think there's a better nail hole filler for wood, for, you know, trim that's going to be painted. Okay, so I've got a lot of excess there. It's okay. We're going to give this time to dry. I would not use the regular joint compound. It's not the same stuff. I have used it, and I know this. It's not the same. It doesn't work as well. You want the easy sand to be totally dry, or I should say totally cured, because this is a setting type joint compound, and it needs to be totally cured. All right, and what I'm going to use here is a length about 12 inches of 2-inch PVC pipe, whatever works to fit in your molding. And I've got a piece of sandpaper right here. This is 60 grit. I'm going to put it on here, and this is how it's done. Okay, see what we've got here? Very nice. Got to do a little bit of sanding there. Yeah, that's feathered right out. Now I want to get here and here, and again we get the sandpaper out, and I just want to get a little bit right on the edge here. All right, we'll do the same thing up here on the ceiling. Yeah, I think I could do that a little bit more, but you get the idea. The point is, I'm not doing it in a small section with my fingers. I've got a long board. I'm kind of jointing across that spot. Now these nail holes can be done with a smaller piece of paper. Very nice. So let's take a closer look here before I proceed to make this look even better. The plaster, the easy sand, whatever you use here, if you don't like the way it looks after first applying it and sanding it, you can mix up a little bit more and put it on there and sand it with a finer paper. And that's what I've done. I've touched up a couple spots and sanded with 120. The next step is to caulk the spots here and here. Whenever doing trim that's going to be painted, we always caulk the joints, the seams, and that's what I'm doing here. Latex, a very small opening on the end. Woo! All right, and get yourself a damp, wet rag. Okay, here we go. You just put a small amount on, just like that. Then you get your finger kind of wet here, and you run it right down there, just like that. Then you wipe the excess on your hand. Okay, got a little mess right there. Do underneath. This makes it look so good when it's painted. All right, wet your finger, slide it right down through. Okay, there we go. We'll let that dry. Right, next comes the primer. I like to use Bin primer, the ultimate stain blocker, but it's just a great primer. It's terrible to paint with, just terrible, but I do like it, and it has lacquer in it, and that's part of its good quality, that lacquer. And lacquer comes from a bug, if you didn't know that, and I'm not kidding you. Do a Google search, you'll see. So I'm using a cheap chip brush here because you don't clean brushes that you've used lacquer on. And I will admit that when I did this room, when I painted the trim around this room, I used a better quality brush, and I made 2 passes, 2 coats with this Bins, and I'm not going to be careful here, down here, even though I would be careful if this were the real thing. I just want to get the paint on here for you. Okay, there's 1 coat of primer. So you really do need a second coat, in my opinion, of this Bin sealer. And while I'm coating this on here, I want to give you a little insight into this company, the Zinsser company. William Zinsser started his lacquer company in New York City back in 1849. The man was all about lacquer. And this Bin, this product right here, which I tend to call Bins, see these chip brushes, you're going to lose your bristles for sure. But the Bin or Bins, whatever you want to call this, has been around since 1946 as this shellac-based primer. 1946. This is an old and well-regarded and proven product. And one of the descendants of William Zinsser, who was also named William Zinsser, was not in the family business. He wrote a book called On Writing Well. He was a writer, and it is considered by many to be the best nonfiction writing how-to book, advice for nonfiction writing. I have read it several times. I've read the whole thing once, and then I've gone back and read it from time to time over the years. Excellent book if you want to write nonfiction. It's hard to find anything better than William Zinsser's On Writing Well. So there's our second coat of primer. Okay, next I'm going to paint it with a good quality interior latex semi-gloss. That's what I used. And I'm going to take my wet rag here and just very, very lightly sand along that. That's 320 grit, just to get any little bumps off of there. All right, then I'll dry it and we'll get a nice coat, finished coat on here. Got a great primed base to go put this on. That's it. That's the idea. That's the trick. Get that plaster, that easy sand, setting type joint compound in there, and you're going to have a really nice finished look. That's it, folks. That's how it's done. You can fix those misaligned molding profiles on Cove and Crown with that little trick I've just showed you. File it away. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.